So maybe if you have questions for Chiara, you can email later on. And now I will read her paper. Okay, in Greek craftsmanship, bronze vessels take a special position for the value of the metal itself, which makes them immediately meaningful and precious. Their use, restricted to more rich people, always made these pieces a clear expression of richness and power. In the Greek world, bronze vessels were early used during aristocratic convivial banquets and symposia, establishing a close relation between objects and their function. And for their value, they were frequently dedicated as votive offerings in sanctuaries. Early Greek bronze vessels exported out of Greece among ancient groups living in a pre-Roman system without their own written sources, that is what we call indigenous society, attest, together with the more diffuse figure pottery, the spread of these social practices. Found generally in funerary contexts from southern Italy to the Black Sea, they represented wealth, power, and identification with the Greek aristocratic culture and society. The study of the pieces exported during archaic and early classical periods allowed us to expand the picture of Greek trades in the Mediterranean area, integrating what already known from the more numerous studies on the distribution of Greek pottery. It's now possible to highlight the role of bronze vessels, differently exported in various regions, certainly reflecting the diversity of carriers who took care of the distribution of goods, of the periods in which these trades occur, and of the different tastes and interests of buyers. Today, finally, I'd like to concentrate on the questions of meaning and function that during archaic and early classical periods these Greek bronze vessels had for indigenous society in Central Europe, in the Balkans, north regions of Black Sea, and mainly in southern Italy, where the big quantity of investigated funerary context permits to get some conclusions about number and shades of Greek bronze vessels, their association with other materials and objects, and the possible meaning that all this stuff had for local people. The second one, compare to a previous synthesis of 10 years ago about Greek bronze vessel distribution, new discoveries and new studies didn't modify substantially the general picture, giving more evidence to already highlighted topics. In central and northern Italy, that means further north of Castelbellino on the Adriatic coast and of Cuma on the Tyrrhenian one, we can confirm the lack of bronze vessels in front of complete Etruscan bronze banquet sets and conspicuous imports of Greek pottery, mostly active. Etruscan cities of the Tyrrhenian and the Po Valley area acted as a filter, blocking imports of Greek bronze vessels to promote their own production. In southern Italy, the picture is supplemented by some funerary sets in the meantime published, pieces recently found or recognized as coming from a definite center. To these updates, we can add new observation about the possibility to attribute some pieces to the fine productions. If recent chemical analysis suggests Aegina as production center for one of the crater of Trebenshken, observation about style and distribution of Athenian bronze vessel allow to review the percentage of pieces attributable, I don't know if it's right, to the Athenian production, re-evaluating their presence in Italy, Balkans, and in the northern Black Sea region, from the middle of the 6th up to the end of the 5th century. Among these funerary contexts, there are obviously important regional differences, but common to all is the presence of Greek metal, almost only in bronze, and pottery vessels, that in Greece are generally connected to the banquet and or to sacred ceremonies. Generally, it's enough easy to define the function this vessel had in Greece, thanks to the many representations on figure pottery. More difficult is to organize the meaning of these objects could add about indigenous peoples. Does the association of various shapes reflect their daily use, or were these associations specifically created for their funerary destination? Were these objects normally used before becoming part of a funeral outfit? And was this use the same as in Greece? The difficulty in answering these questions is that to the fact that we don't have written sources or figure representation helping us in understanding the original meaning of these objects had among indigenous societies. So we can start from the use of these vessels in Greece. The more common shapes of bronze vessels from indigenous funerary contexts are basins, lebetes, oinokoi, hydrai, steiners, philae, and exceptionally craters. This is the slide. Only philae are specifically connected with religious practices. As one Greek figure pottery, they are always represented in scenes of sacrifice and libation. Bronze examples have been found in several areas in southern Italy, in the Balkans, and more rarely in Central Europe, as the only silver one from Vix attest. All pieces that should be related to the funerary libation. Okay, strictly related with the Symposium were craters attested by extraordinary complete example or just by Anders, Deinoi or Levites, and steiners whose presence in barriers is a clear reference to the Greek habit of drinking wine. Then we have the 7. Okay, other shapes were used in both contexts, saint and symposiastic, as they seem to indicate the many depictions recurring on figure pottery, especially Attic, and the presence of bronze examples among potting materials offered in Greek sanctuaries. This is the case of oinokoi, used for sacred libations when associated with the philae and the pure wine during Symposia. Oinokoi are one of the most widespread shapes of bronze vessels found in indigenous barriers, often associated with a bronze basin or with a complete banquet set. Okay? More uncertain is the use of hydrai, normally container of water. They were used in Greek world for many and different purposes, and as banquets, games, peace prizes, votive objects related to the use of water during sacrifices. Similarly are in barriers. Bronze hydrai are well attested among all indigenous contexts. See picture 4. No, maybe it's one of those, probably. Maybe that one. Okay, and just one piece was found in Central Europe, the famous hydra from Grechwil. Usually richly decorated, hydra are often found normally together with other pieces of banquet set, clearly attesting the chaste richness. Where is the 10th? This one, yeah, basins. Basins, because of the generality of the form, lend themselves to many different uses. For those with fixed handles, generally associated to a tripod base, called Podanipteres representation on figure pottery indicates a function generally related with the personal cleaning in different contexts, one of which is the Symposium. Then we have two slides. This shape, with particularly molded enders, is very well attested in indigenous barriers from southern Italy, Balkans, Black Sea area, always associated with shapes related with wine consuming, like this one. A specific kind of basins with fixed enders of triangular shape is certainly recognizable on some active red figure base used at last in 5th century Athens as kernips for the burial as washing before the sacrifice. The huge number of enders of this type found among the materials of the Athenian Acropolis, several hundreds, seems to confirm this relation and their Athenian production. Well-known examples of basins with this kind of enders have been found also in some indigenous burial contexts in southern Italy: Lavello, Valenzano, Balkans, Trebenishke, and Black Sea area, Ezerovo. It's possible that their original use wasn't received in this context, as they have been found associated with elements connected to the Symposium set. In indigenous area, they were probably sold and purchased as normal bronze basins, usable as podanicter container for food or other stuff during a normal banquet. Another shape found in, so what we can do, should we cut? It's extremely long. No time, so Chiara, I don't know, but so actually the paper doesn't have any conclusion, so I don't know, maybe we can just see the slides. So this is a map of the findings. Thanks.